So earlier this year, I made a video stating that not all GMT Masters are destined to shoot up in value. And in particular, I was referencing the 116710 LN, so basically the black GMT Master that's been discontinued in 2019, 2020. What I said was, it's not a watch that appreciates as much as the other two GMT Masters, so the Pepsi and the Batman. But this video is essentially a market update. We're going to try to scour all the popular deals on the GMT Masters and try to determine if now's the time to buy it, whether it's actually really shooting up in value, has it already begun, or will it just remain the same? So let's begin with Chrono 24 because it's the most extensive resource for, well, all of these watches in general. So as you can see, we start off with about 16.5K. This is all in US dollars. And the highest listing here is almost 20 grand, 19.5 grand. But that is a 2020 unworn new piece. So this is top of the market. It seems to not be stickered, but it's supposedly unworn and it's got the 2020 card, which is excessively rare on this GMT Master variant because this is exactly when they were going out. These are some of the last pieces you can get with the black GMT Master 2 and the new card. So that's why it's so expensive, and it will rise. Well, I think it's going to appreciate the most compared to the other black dial GMT Masters, solely because it's got the new card and it's discontinued. So this one's a 2020 unworn, but unfortunately it doesn't have stickers, so that means the stickered piece, if there's one, could actually go for more than this. Now this itself is an inflated price because we are on Chrono 24 and they do take a margin. So I guess if you look at direct dealers, you might be able to get a better price, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 US dollars less, but that's just a good reference to know where the top of the market is. Now, if we take a look at some other pieces, this doesn't look to be in that great condition. It's got a 2020 service, but it's an older card, as you can see. We don't know what the year of production is. Now that's kind of pointless. It's very difficult to buy a piece, especially one of these, without knowing the year of production, because that is a huge factor when it comes to the value of the watch. So you don't know if this is a good deal or not. So let's skip over it. Now 16.5 grand. This looks to be in pretty good nick. What is it? It's a 2016 piece, so relatively recent, but not brand new or not close to that. So I think this is a bit inflated. I do think $15,000 or somewhere around there is more appropriate, but this is also Chrono 24, so keep that in mind. Now just taking a look at the graph. Okay, screw the graph. So if we scroll down, you can see a whole host of different prices starting from around early 12.5 here to 20 grand. So what do we get for 12.5? What's the year? 2012. That makes sense. This seems to be quite reasonable because this is sort of the market for this. Although since it's such an old piece, I don't know whether it's been lightly polished. It kind of seems like it has because there's a lot of shiny bits, especially with the center links being polished. I don't think it would have stayed in such good condition over the years. And there's a lot of people watching this because it is seemingly a good deal at 2012. So yeah, that's the bottom of the market, I guess. Most of the prices are in between. You see 15, but is this the actual watch or stock photos? I can't tell. 2008. Yeah, no, it's near mint condition, but I don't know if that means that it's never been polished. Maybe it's written somewhere here. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend buying a 2008 piece. If you want to buy an early piece, it should be the first year of production, 2007, because that could potentially retain better value. So that's a brief overview of Chrono 24. It's got the most number of pieces, as you can see. Now going to Chronext, which is quite popular as well in Europe. So this is Germany, German prices, euro. And there's no GMT Master 2 with the black dial. That's interesting because Chrono 24 has so many listed, whereas here there's none. So there is sort of a shortage with these pieces now. It means that more people are being careful with this watch and people are getting their hands on it. Now in Watchbox, you can see that they have only 2 pieces, and well, it says coming soon, but they've already listed it. 2016 at 15 grand and 2008 at 14 grand. That seems interesting that this is priced relatively high. Okay, they do not have too many details on this piece, just that it's a 2008 piece. I don't think this is a good deal. So the other one, the 15 grand at 2016, makes more sense, but again, it looks like the same watch. There's not too many details here either, so let's just move on to Watchfinder. Now they've got more pieces than most other places except for Chrono 24, because this is an independent dealer, so they seem like they're really interested in buying up all the GMT masters because they have a feeling that it's on the rise as well, which is quite interesting to see. It's a business tactic. It's fascinating to see how these different watch dealers react to the market. So clearly there is some sort of new wave of GMT masters being desired. As you can see, we start with 2009, 2008, both at the same price, 12k pounds. So this is a bit more expensive because it's pounds, but they also have VAT over there. So unlike in the US where you just have state tax, which works out to be less overall compared to around 20% VAT for UK. So if you discount the VAT, this is decent pricing. It's fairly good, but you can't do that. So just taking a look at the overall spread, it's not that stark as you can see on Chrono 24. This is pretty much all their pieces, and it goes up until 13 grand. That's the most expensive one. So just 2k for so many years in between. And it's interesting because some of them do still have the manufacturer's warranty, which is desirable. But 2017 is still not really the piece I would recommend to go for. If you are really interested in the investment aspect of it, then you would go 2019 or 2020 or maybe 2007, but that depends on the condition heavily. But yeah, that's Watchfinder UK. If we move on to David SW, also a popular dealer in the States, 15.575, 16, almost 17 grand. Let's take a look at the more expensive one to see what year. Yes, so this makes sense. It's still high, but it makes a lot more sense. I think this is a better deal than most of the pieces we've seen thus far, simply because it's in August 2019. It's getting towards the end of the cards that you can find. It seems to be in really good condition as well. So this 17 grand for a 2019 GMT Master 2 Black. Now, the earlier one at 15.5, October 2016, makes sense. Also seems to be in really good condition. I don't know if it's polished or not, because those center links do really scratch up quick. So, very good looking watches here, and the prices are not atrocious. So those are the only 2 listings at David SW. Let's move on to Gentleman timepieces. This is the only watch I found. 14 grand and 2008 piece. Ideally not the one you want to get for investment sake. I mean, this watch is mostly the same throughout its production run. There's some small things that Rolex changed, but overall I think if you want to wear it, it shouldn't matter which year it is, as long as you're satisfied with the condition. But if we're talking just purely about values and them rising, then you want something modern and more recent. Now onto Luxury Bazaar. This is the only piece I found there as well, 15.3 grand, but they haven't listed a year. I couldn't find the year, and I think they typically don't list the model year, so probably you have to call them up and find out. So just by looking at the watch, it's quite hard to tell, but it does not seem to be too much of a new piece, as you can tell. It seems to have quite some use, probably somewhere around 2012, somewhere from 2008 to 2012. Fairly good condition, but it's been used. Now, on to Pride and Pinion. They don't have this piece, so I think Watchfinder over there in UK pretty much snatched up all the GMT Masters, except for the ones you see here. Now on to Del Rey watch, which is Federico's thing. He doesn't have any GMT Masters. And finally on to Ken watches, the dealer I go to in Hong Kong. So he's got one at the moment. Last year he had quite a few. There were about 4 or 5 pieces, and that's because I filmed this one of these watches, and you'll see it in the video shortly. But yeah, so they are kind of drying up, or people are getting interested finally in this watch. So I do think that it is going up in value, but as you can see, it's 95.8 for a 2012 piece. So 95,800 Hong Kong dollars roughly translates to 12,310 US dollars. So that's still at the bottom of the market, which is kind of expectable for a 2012 piece. So I think that was sort of a good overview of the GMT Master 2 LN market. And so basically the prices now are from 12 to nearly 20 grand. So now as of recent, this variant is finally getting quite a lot of traction. Previously in the last video where we spoke about this watch, that range was closer from 11 to 14. 14 was kind of the upper end, and now the upper end seems to be close to 19. So there's clearly some serious demand and serious appreciation for the newest pieces that are remaining on the market. So the 2019, 2020 pieces are finally seeing, well, Batman or Pepsi levels of appreciation. But it's not the same throughout the range because there's so many pieces of this black GMT Master. So I feel like the bottom end of the market will see minor appreciation, maybe from 12 to 13 gradually to perhaps 14. But if you can find a 2020 piece, that's the one you should get if you can get it at a reasonable deal, because it will continue to rise and probably rise quite quickly. So that's pretty much it. That's basically a market update of the GMT Master 2 Black Dial 116710 LN. If you like these sort of videos, do subscribe, check out the other videos on the channel, and if you have any thoughts for future videos, please put them down below in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. Cheers.